Yo, what is up, boys and girls? It's your boy Shieldcoomer, aka Sirigath, and in this video we're gonna be covering Ulduman Legacy of Tyr on Keystone level 23. This is with the affixes, as you can see on the screen. It is Fortified, Storming, and Bursting. So, pretty suitable affixes for Priest Healer, honestly. You know, traditionally Bursting has been, a good week to push on a Priest because I mean, it's just that, Mass Dispel is pretty useful against Bursting. It allows for some big pulls and stuff. Honestly, I think in this patch, Bursting doesn't actually hurt that badly. So a lot of times I would not even like Mass Dispel it and just rather heal it and stuff. But, as you can see here, for example, it definitely does hurt quite a bit. And it's not like you can completely ignore it, obviously. It's more so that sometimes it just feels more efficient to like provide a little bit of healing rather than waste your mana. Well, not waste your mana, but rather like use your mana for the master spells. Because think about it like this: like you can also do damage while healing. Whereas if you're mass dispelling, you're just mass dispelling and you're not really doing much else. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about this dungeon. So this is a very tricky dungeon on Fortified. First of all, I'd say this first part is really tough for tanks. There's a lot of mobs that will absolutely shrek your tanks in this dungeon, and you just have to be like fully aware of this and help out your tank as much as possible. Not just you, obviously, it needs to kind of be the entire team, but like clearly, you as a healer, it's your job to do your best at just keeping the tank alive. Once again, I don't really suggest like hard healing tanks. I think if a tank is about to die, there's very like few scenarios where you will make the difference as a disc. I think it's mainly your job to kind of like put your pain subs on them and also keep up your shield on them. Just keep the atonements up and have as many dots rolling as possible. That will provide them like quite a big passive regeneration through simply your atonements and dots, that it will still be worth it. We're doing like an interesting pull here where we're just taking like we're backpedaling a little bit and taking like this trash to the first boss. Since first boss honestly really doesn't do that much on Fortified. On Tyrannical it is a bit dangerous, but even then like this boss is pretty chill. It really doesn't do much, so you can just kind of like focus on, just pretty much use it to get the extra percentage, I suppose, is what I want to say. You can, because obviously a lot of classes will scale better if there's more targets to the in the fight. So we're just kind of using that to our advantage and playing the pack with the boss. Pretty clever. Not necessary, I don't think, but it does help with the timer, because as you push higher and higher, the timers do get tighter and tighter, and you do have to be efficient with your pulls.
Defensive bulwark. Heavy arrow.
Honestly, like as I said, on Fortified really there's not much to say about this boss. Like you just kind of have to watch out for the people that are getting targeted by the dagger throw. One thing that can kill you is a ricocheting throw if it hits exactly at the same time as the throw. Of course, don't stand in the fire, and that's about it. And then you can see like even like with the pack and the boss, this is still only a 1 minute 25 seconds pull. It is just really chill and very efficient way to get percentage while killing the boss as well. Now on Tyrannical, I'm actually not entirely sure if you should be doing this. I think it might be a different story. I'll tell you guys when I know. For sure. But on Fortified, this definitely works. And one thing like I recommend obviously is like staying close as a priest seems like counterintuitive thing to do, right? It's like, oh, why are you staying close, bro? You're a ranged healer, why would you risk? But there's also another factor that you gotta consider, and that is like, fear is a pretty good interrupt, especially because it's AoE, and especially because most things are vulnerable to it. Of course, there are certain things that cannot be feared, but It's definitely like, considering we don't provide any interrupts to the group, it's definitely something you should be utilizing as much as possible. Even if you can interrupt 1 or 2 casts only, it's still big value. And it can reduce the amount of damage that you take as a group once on packs and stuff like that. So I recommend using it. So that's why I kind of still like to stay close. And there's also one more reason, and that is Rhapsody. So if you're playing Rhapsody, which I am, when people are stacked, I highly recommend like getting a weak aura. This is something I still have yet to do. I have to find like a good weak aura for my Rhapsody. When you're on 20 stacks of Holy Nova, right? Whenever, like, it's a talent that says that whenever you're not casting Holy Nova, you get a stack, right? And when you get to 20 stacks, it gets quite hard. So I would recommend that if you are playing that talent, this talent isn't really make it or break it. You can pick it if you find yourself with some extra talent points, but we have a lot of good talents to pick from our class tree. So really, this isn't like something you have to play. It's just something that I've been kind of like playing around with, and I've just been like enjoying it. I like that when I press it, you know, it goes like brrr, you know, it hits extra hard and stuff, and especially buffed up by Twilight Equilibrium, it will do quite a bit of healing and damage if you're on those 20 stacks. So I do actually kind of like playing it. So yeah, that's also one more reason to be close. So if you're playing Rhapsody, being close is kind of good. And obviously you don't have to only use it on 20 stack. Obviously the more stacks you have, the harder it will hit. But yeah, it can also be, you know, just if you need like some AoE emergency heals and you're out of your other things, you know. Okay, so this boss is pretty good for us. I will say that obviously you will depend on your team here, because the totem does need to die relatively quickly, and this mob that casts needs to be interrupted. The ads also should be dying relatively quickly. Like the pace that I find like kind of like cozy for these ads is they should be dying like before the next one spawn, kind of thing, you know, because you don't want to be overwhelmed. You don't want to have like 20 ads at once, you know, set per set, and then you let them die like this, and that's perfect. Yeah. So basically what I really like to do is kind of like this. I'll build up my big penance, of course, and you can use 1 or 2 in between every set of totems. And then I will rupture the first one, I will barrier the second one, then I'll tell the boys to use their defenses on the third one and help me out with, you know, whatever you got. Like if you have Shaman or Shadow Priest or Boomy or any druid, rather anybody with off heal, maybe AMZ even, you know, just use that, because your rupture won't really be back for this third one on time, and you don't want to be doing it while the damage is ongoing. You want to do it kind of preemptively. And as you can see here, we've dealt with it quite efficiently. And now we're just kind of like ramping, not really ramping up, but we are building our fat radiance for the next stack. Obviously, I'm just doing some damage here and spreading my dots. But yeah, I'll be building up my big radiance now. And then, you know, once again, pretty much same, like big rupture onto everyone, then onto the quaking totem, put a schism, you know, heal people up. You can also like save and pool your radiances, you know, for when you feel like you might need them. It's what I like to do, it's what you should do. Radiance is such a strong spell for us right now that really like optimizing the usage is very important. We don't have much healing outside of Radiance, honestly. Atonements will do their job, but they're not enough to like just keep people alive, so you really need to you really do need to kind of pay attention to that. And here we just pull everything, and we're probably gonna do a little bit of kiting. Not probably, we're gonna be doing a little bit of kiting. Honestly, here, like, if your tank is just straight up tanking everything, there's just not much you can do. Like, don't even bother. That's just an experienced tank. Like, these mobs need to be kited. The dot they put on a tank during Fortified week is absolutely demonic, and it is not healable if there's like 2 stacks or more. You can of course paint up and try your best, but I promise you, you will not be able to keep tank alive if he's just straight up tanking everything. So here I did a pretty dumb thing. I just like tank needed the kite, right? And that was on me for standing there. You just kind of have to be aware of where you're standing, because as I said, like your tank, unless they're trolling, they will be kiting
Ancient
here.
power.
Just make sure you
Systemic
get out of the way,
Ancient power.
because
Systemic vulnerability.
of the cleave, as we have just seen, right?
Vulnerability.
Systemic vulnerability. But yeah, these custodians, these little, I don't know, I call them lizards, but I have no idea what they are.
Ancient power.
The thing with them
Systemic
is,
vulnerability. Ancient
I mean,
power.
this is more like a tank tech, but I'm just gonna explain to you how it works. You might be wondering how he's not getting stacks or something. So basically, when they start casting, they can't move,
Systemic
and it's like a
vulnerability.
small frontal cone AoE that applies the bleed. So basically, if your tank is just backpedaling during
Ancient
that,
power.
you can actually outrange it while still dealing damage to them. So it is pretty efficient thing to do, and really it takes a bit of practice, of course, to get correctly. But this allows you to pull all of this and just kill it for free. And then when it comes this fun boss, yeah, this boss is great.
Crushing stomp.
So yeah, this boss, I mean, I've had a lot of troubles with this boss from the beginning of this tier.
Titanic empowerment.
I'm gonna be completely honest here. Like,
Crushing stomp.
by now I think most people know this. The most dangerous part of this fight is when somebody has a dot
Resonating orb.
and he's about to do stomp, because one tick of the dot plus one stomp will kill you, even on Fortified. It's really ridiculous. Like, Blizzard, please fix this boss, like a little bit at least. Like this boss definitely needs a tuning change. This is just one of those bosses where certain comps I actually feel like just straight up cannot kill this boss. Like, you need D-bleeds or some sort of immunities to kill this boss, and maybe other healers are better at it, I don't know, because obviously Disc isn't the best spot healer. I have not played much of the other healers this season, so I wouldn't even know. But from what I'm seeing is essentially like we're rotating the dragon D-bleed, we're rotating the bobs. Obviously we don't have any way to immune it to this comp, unfortunately, but sometimes you will have, like, I don't know, mage or red pala, or somebody with like fat defensive like warlock, although I'm not really sure how much warlock's defensives do for this, but you know, a lot of classes have way to remove it and stuff. So if you do, obviously you should use it. And here Evoker debleeded themselves, and this barrier was kind of not really needed. It's actually kind of maybe not the ideal play. But yeah, here obviously if you get it, you want to make sure. So you want to make sure there's like few things that are happening. You want to make sure you have the buff from your talent running. When you flash kill somebody, you get 10% DR. You want to make sure you have Fade pop. You want to make sure you have Desperate Prayer pop. And then obviously you want to like single target yourself, and obviously with the Rupture. And this is like one of those very rare scenarios where I actually do recommend using Rupture for healing. Once again, pretty rare scenario. I most often you will get way more value out of your Rupture if you just like use it to spread dots and deal damage. But this is one of those cases where actually using it for healing is the correct play, because people that do get the dot will absolutely need the hard healing of your Rupture, sorry, I'm saying Rupture, I meant Penance. Oh my god, I'm sorry guys. All of this time I meant Penance, yeah, but obviously, I mean, you can use Rupture as well. I tried that actually, but I just find that the ticks of the dot get too hard for the Rupture to really do the job in a single target scenario. Rupture is more sort of like a blanket that covers like soft AoE hits that happen at once, and potentially like preventing one-shots and stuff, rather than just straight up like single target healing with it. Of course, Tornado making my life miserable, not letting me mass the spell. And yeah, that's how we do that boss. I mean, honestly guys, it's just about practice and also coordination with your team. You alone cannot heal all the dots. It is just not possible. Your team needs to stun some of the dots. They need to stun the overlaps. You just cannot let dot plus stomp go off on somebody who isn't like already tanky and pretty like in a healthy place.
Curse of Stone.
Yeah, that's about it. That's really it. Save your fat penances for the single target heals for people that don't have defensives. Obviously, smart usage of pain sub.
Earthly War.
If you waste the pain sub on that fight, somebody will die, which isn't the end of the world. Honestly, you shouldn't need to use any combat reses before that boss anyway, so sometimes it's not the worst idea to just like sometimes let somebody drop and just combat res them. Of course, that's never the ideal case scenario. It's a big damage loss and all of that. But at the end of the day, you know, it's you know, it's not the end of the world. Is basically what I'm trying to say. I mean, honestly, this dungeon is, once you understand what, I mean, I guess this goes for every dungeon. I guess once you understand what every single enemy in it does, it really isn't that hard. But it is challenging for sure. It is challenging for sure. And yeah, here basically, okay, so this is another like hard pack. So I'm gonna be talking a little bit about it. This big boy here, he will deal a lot of damage in the AoE, which of course isn't, well, I wouldn't say isn't our bread and butter, but it also is at the same time. This is why disc is weird at the moment. It's like the same things that are your biggest strengths are also your biggest flaws. With two radiances saved, you're actually pretty good at dealing with AoE damage, and here you can see like how big my radiance was, and of course you know, with all the extra help from the team and stuff, right? But still, look at my HPS. It's 140k, well 135k at the end of the pool, which is pretty high. Even though it's fortified, it's still just like one trash pack. You have to kill a lot there. You have to be ready though. You need to commit cooldowns as well on a fortified week there, because if you don't, people will die. It's just one of those things, you know. Rapture plus barrier is more than enough. Make sure you're using your own defensives as well. If you don't have enough damage to kill them in two rotations and you get a third one, obviously personals, use your pain subs preemptively to make sure people stay alive. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable. And sadly, you cannot dodge that damage. There's big guys later that you can line of sight, which we will talk about when we get there, but you know, you just cannot like not take damage there. Sadly, you just have to take it like a big boy and deal with it. And this has recently been the bane of my existence. Emberon, not a big fan of this boss. Even on Fortified, he hurts quite a bit. It's not really about the damage, it's about how bursty it is. When he does the unstable embers, it gets really... It just hurts a lot, and people can't really stack, so the barrier is useless, for example. Sometimes people just get one shot, and also, as you can see, like, sometimes people also get hit by balls. It's not easy. You gotta think, you know... Yeah, not overlapping circles is the easy part, but then you see these balls are coming and people have to move in all sorts of different directions, and you just have to coordinate really well. It is definitely not easy, and here I just couldn't get my master spell off, which was really frustrating. And we took another ball there, almost wiped. That was almost like, if we wiped there, I think the key is probably over. So that was kind of sketchy. But we made it through. Made it through. As you can see, 0 combat reses at the moment, but we got good momentum here. And timer on this key is a bit weird, because the bosses and the trash isn't really proportional. Like, trash later starts giving way more percentage than the trash earlier, so you just have to be kind of like aware of that, so you don't panic, you know. It's like, oh, you might be thinking, oh, 60%, didn't even kill this boss yet, you know, it's not looking too good. It's fine. It's this dungeon has like a little bit of a weird timer. Takes a little bit of getting used to. But yeah, as you can see here, you know, there I made a good decision. I had like 1 instant radiance, and I was tempted to press it, I'm pretty sure, but I decided to just like top everybody up normally, because I know I can do that, and then press radiance once I have my once the damage is taken, to top everybody up quickly, right? And then once again, you lead into the mass spell.
Searing Cloud.
And then you just do your normal DPS rotation. Rogue died one more time here. It happens, you know, I'm sure, you know, for melee players, it's a bit hard to dodge these things because it's a bit more clutter for them, right? Because we have a Feral Druid and the Rogue, that's 2 melees, plus the tank, of course, that's 3 melees. That makes it, like, more cluttered than it is for us ranged. So moving and dodging the bolts at the same time is definitely not easy.
Infusion.
And here, you know, these guys are perfect for us because they have low HPs, so with just a little bit of DPS and stuff, you get into like the execute threshold where you can start pumping your Shadow Word deaths. Make sure everybody has atonements. And I mean, one more thing I'll say is like, try to be stacked, obviously, you know, if you're playing with pugs and the pugs aren't stacked, that's not really on you. You know, you can't really like get through these lasers, so if they're on the other side, you're just gonna have to try and stay in range if possible. If not, just, I would honestly say, just let them die and focus on keeping others alive, because it is like significant amount of damage even in intermission, by the way. Like it is significant. It's not insignificant at all. And I think the tricky part on like Tyrannical is that how close the bosses are together. You really need to make a choice, like
Thunderous Clap.
what you want to bloodlust, you know? You really have to like take your pick, because there's no theoretical possibility of like bloodlusting every single boss in this dungeon. You just have to like pick and choose. Obviously lost dwarves you're never gonna bloodlust, but Bromach, whatever his name is, you're definitely gonna definitely wanna bloodlust him. And then of course you're either gonna bloodlust like Sentinel or Emberon. One of them will have to be done without bloodlust, and that's where the difficulty is, right? They're both tricky bosses. Neither of them are particularly hard, but both of them are hard in a way. I don't know how else to put it. Like they're both doable is what I'm trying to say, but they're not easy. They're tricky, you know. Can give you issues and headaches. But yeah, it's pretty smooth run so far. You know, although that's so far were like very avoidable and they were just personal mistakes if you think about it. It was me, I died to Cleave, if you remember, much earlier. And then Rogue died twice on Emberon. And that's pretty much all that happened. So pretty smooth runs so far. And this pull here is very important because it's kind of free as long as people line of sight. Now, I would say, like, if you're not getting one shot and if you're good with interrupts, you can also not line of sight this. And if you are line of sighting, you could maybe even do a slightly bigger pull. I'm not sure how recommended that is. It does seem a bit scary. Probably depends on whether your tank can survive it and stuff. And also the problem is with a Blessing of Tyr, you know, if you pull this and you put a Blessing of Tyr on the place where you want to line of sight, it does get kind of weird, so I wouldn't really recommend it. But it is an idea, right? Just something that you maybe consider doing, you know? Maybe. But yeah, as you can see, like, this trash is pretty free. This is just tank damage. These guys actually do nothing. Same as next guys, as long as you line of sight. And if I play with people I trust, I'll even tell them, like, if the damage is heavily predictable and there's no damage beforehand, and like we're not gonna die, we can just eat the AoEs, right? This is the same, kind of like the same notion as it was in the, how would I put it? Same notion as it was in the, what do you call it? Court of Stars. If you remember, those mini bosses that explode and leave dot on everyone, like, if the key isn't super high and if I have some cooldowns running and stuff, and obviously if the weeks are right, you know, you're not gonna do it on the Fortified, but on Tyrannical, I told people, like, just eat the AoE, it's fine, I'll just heal it, because I'm doing my DPS rotation anyway, so if my DPS rotation can heal everyone, it doesn't really hurt me to just apply atonements and just heal anyway. Because, you know, even though, yeah, it's true, the gain probably isn't like too
Thunderous
big.
clap.
A lot of classes can still deal damage while line of sighting, especially if you position these guys properly. Even melee can hit through the wall, but you know, here you just can't take two in a row, right? Like if you take one, you get healed, you take another one, you can also get healed, and you're kind of fine. It is a little bit wasteful to your mana though, so if you're running into mana issues, obviously, I have a shock trinket at the moment. I finally got it, so I'm not really struggling hard for mana anymore. I'm also playing Solace, which
Earthen Ward.
gives you like a decent amount of mana back. So, you know, if you're struggling with mana, obviously telling your team to take damage is kind of silly, but if you're feeling like you're chill on mana, you can try it, yeah, for sure.
Earthen Ward.
And here, these packs are a bit more dangerous than the previous ones because there's just a lot more things to interrupt here, so there's like more potential for things to go through. But honestly, these guys are not really casting much,
Thunderous clap.
and most of these things cannot kill you, so line of sighting here is recommended, but not really super giga necessary.
Blessing of Tyr. Curse of Stone.
And also for those of you that have watched my videos before and stuff, if you're wondering why my UI changed slightly, it's not a big change, but you might notice like a few things. I also forgot to enable streamer mode for this, so you guys can't see like what I'm casting properly. I'm very sorry for that. I'll try to remember next time. But I actually uninstalled WoW on accident. Like I misclicked and I was stupid. I wasn't really paying attention, so I just clicked yes.
Hasten.
I tried to uninstall like another game and I clicked on WoW on accident. And I uninstalled it, and I didn't back up my files properly. So I had to basically redo my entire UI, but on the bright side, that actually gave me like a decent... It gave me like a decent little opportunity to kind of like redo certain aspects of my UI that I didn't really like. And I'm not done with it still. I will definitely be doing a little bit more. And there, like the rogue somehow took the tank mechanic. We're not really sure how it happened. The theory is that he got knocked in the air by the tornado, and then he was the closest one to the ad, so he got time bladed instead of the tank. We're not sure if that's true or not, you know, because it's not a frontal, right? So it could be simply the not the aggro person, but instead the person that's closest in the proximity. You know, Blizzard worked in mysterious ways at times, so I guess we'll never know for sure, but that's the running theory, and I think it's the correct one. But yeah, that pack, I mean, obviously with Mass Dispel, you know, it's also worth learning how to line of sight that, unless you're running like two priests. Honestly, Mass Dispel has been a real godsend this year. Like, there's been so many things you can Mass Dispel, it's pretty crazy. And it really feels impactful, especially in this dungeon. There's like priests gain a lot of value in this dungeon. We actually like do a lot of heavy lifting with Mass Dispel. You can Mass Dispel Emberon, you can Mass Dispel this Time Blade shenanigan. You can Mass Dispel the dot on the last boss. So it's just like a lot of good utility for Mass Dispel here. It's been quite a bit of things that are Mass Dispellable in this tier so far. Kind of cool to see. I think it's probably one of the reasons why Shadow Priest has remained... I mean, okay, Shadow Priest just blasts anyway. Like, I kind of wish Shadow Priests weren't as strong, because I think the like Priest Healer would see a little bit more play in keys. Honestly, unless you like... Well, Disc is kind of good, and I think people are aware of it. Like, Disc isn't like the worst healer out there, like we were last season. Last season we were absolutely fucking horrible, so I understood people not inviting us. But this season, also it's been like easier to get invites, because I think Disc is also just good. And if you're like, you know, geared and stuff, and if you have good score, people will invite you for certain keys. But I also understand that, like, you know, when people have already Shadow Priest, which they should have like 99% of the time, it is kind of hard to, you know, justify inviting a Disc, you know, because we don't have combat res, we don't have bloodlust. We're literally just a healer. We get PI, but you know, a lot of classes don't really gain much from PI at the moment. So obviously everybody gets something, but you know, it's like it's not really worth it inviting it, you know, for like I don't know, a rogue or even like rat pala or something like that. They just don't gain that much in like a few thousand DPS. It's really not worth it. But yeah. Anyway, let's talk about this boss a little bit. This boss, guys, is very hard. I used to think this boss is just a mage shield, but on higher keys, this boss gets very difficult. First of all, wing buffet starts scaling insanely, and it starts hitting like a freaking truck. So be ready. People need to be full HP before every wing buffet, and they need to be and there's like tricky overlaps, especially on start of the fight, where you pretty much get the whole deal with like dots into the knock, where just people are taking like a buttload of damage. You just have to be ready for that. And one thing I will say, like, a good thing is you get cased while you're soaking in that phase. So when he does the, what is it called? Something time wind, time flow. Oh yeah, wait, I can read it on the right. Yeah, rewind time flow. When he does rewind time flow, basically you get plus 50% haste. So use it, right? We scale really well with haste. It lets us cast really fast. Don't drain your mana. Don't go into like healing mode. Use the atonements, cast your spells, do a lot of damage. Try to top people up. Use your mass dispel. Be ready with the mana pot for this dragon, I would say, because you will be using a lot of mass dispels. So just make sure that you know. Also, if you're paladin, usually you will have one paladin in your party, right? So use double like hand of freedom, because that means you can remove the dot from people, right? If you hand of freedom someone, you can remove it from them, and if you're doing double, like if it's a DPS and they get it, they will remove it from themselves. So a lot of people can dispel themselves, is my point, basically. Even we can do it with the fade. So I should probably start running that for this dungeon, actually, and that just occurred to me, so I guess I figured out something as well while trying to explain it to you guys. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's for the key. Pretty smooth key. Only a few like unfortunate deaths, but still barely on time. I mean, 2 minutes isn't really barely, but it's good enough. Anyway, that's what cracked me over 3k Riot score. Pretty proud of that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, make sure to follow and subscribe if you want to follow me on my journey to getting my first M+ title. Hopefully we'll get it this year. Much love, guys. Take care. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel, and I hope to see you guys again. Good luck on your keys. See ya.